welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be part 2 of my reactions and thoughts to Death Note. So the first video I watched episodes 1 through 20. This video are episodes 20 through 37, which is the end of the anime on Netflix. And I have thoughts. I have feelings about the kind of like latter portion of Death Note. So I just want to remind you guys, like the first video, there are going to be spoilers, and this one I will be spoiling pretty big things. So if you haven't watched Death Note, I don't recommend watching this unless you have no intentions of doing so. But if you are somebody that wants to watch Death Note and you don't like spoilers of any sort, I love you and I thank you so much for clicking on the video, but I will not be upset if you skip, because I do not want to ruin the show for anybody. I really enjoyed the show up until a certain point, and I would never want to sway anybody's opinion. So again, there are going to be a ton of spoilers in this video. Please don't proceed if you have issues with spoilers. Okay? I love you. I will see you next time. And yes, my thumbs are up. Now, let's talk. Let's talk, because I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest about the second half of Death Note that I watched. So L died, and when I tell you that I was crying. I was crying, and his death was all of like a few minutes. I don't know what came over me, but I was devastated when L died. And I think it was because his relationship with Light was not healthy in the slightest bit, but I felt like a genuine connection between the two of them, especially because L acknowledged that he was kind of like a loner. He really didn't have anybody to connect to. He didn't know how to build those connections and to foster them. And to foster them. And he acknowledged that. I felt like there was a point when they were on the rooftop where he acknowledged that he kind of felt let down by some of the people that he has maybe tried to let close. That's what I took from their conversation. And it made it all that much harder when he's taken, when he has gone bye-bye. And Light is honestly one of the most diabolical characters ever. And I almost want to say he's slightly repulsive to me. In the beginning, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I fuck with this. I like the fact that he's morally gray, black. He's a morally black character. He has no morals, is my point. I was kind of on board with that, and I enjoyed that. You guys know I like characters that straddle the line like that. But there definitely came a point in the last section, in the last half, I guess, of Death Note, where Light literally just became a true villain with... I felt like anything good that might have been there, that might have been the reason why he started all of that, was gone. And I don't know if the manga is the same. I have to read the manga, and I definitely will now. But I just feel like after L dies, after L dies, I just feel like the characters took a dip. And I think it's because we lost that dynamic between Light and L and their conflict, and just fucking wicked genius the two of them are, and how it was so hard for them to one-up each other. And then all of a sudden L dies, and all the work he's done is passed on to the kid, the white-haired kid, Nier. I don't even remember his name. And all of a sudden Nier is like, I'm gonna be the hero, and I'm gonna find Light, and then he gets Light, and it's like, you never would have gotten there if it hadn't been for L. You wouldn't be here successfully if it hadn't been for L. I honestly feel like L's death was kind of like cheap. It felt like a watered-down version of what I think it could have been, but then it just felt like twists and turns were being thrown in for the sake of throwing them in, and not necessarily because they were playing into the plot anymore. But I think I was also just so salty about the fact that L had died, and Nier was now kind of like taking credit for catching Kier. Like, I don't know, I just was like kind of annoyed from there on. And I hated the fact that Light was all of a sudden a womanizer. He was just being portrayed as this like womanizing piece of and I was like, there was so much more to Light pre-L's death. And now all of a sudden he's just this womanizing, disgusting villain. And I hated that. I guess I shouldn't say hate, because I liked the show. I think I would still recommend the show. Did I love that like last chunk? No, I did not. I did not love that last chunk. I honestly feel like when L was killed, I felt like there was really nowhere else to go. Those are the anime gods punishing me for talking shit, because I just choke so bad. It was crazy. Anyways, what I was trying to say before I stopped breathing correctly was, I just feel like you had all of this character development and you had this plot that was like really, really fire. It was a really good plot in my opinion. And what made the plot so much better was the fact that you had these two characters who were just, it was almost like they were overpowered and there was no way for them to one-up each other. And the intrigue, the reason I was so obsessed with it was because how were they supposed to one-up each other? I didn't understand how they were going to do it. I didn't understand how Light or Elle was going to one-up the other. And then all of a sudden, there's like this loophole and Rem kills Elle because if Misa gets caught, she like, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, actually. That's kind of cool. It seems like a little bit of a cheap shot, but it's cool, whatever. But then Rem died, and I was like, oh, shit. I don't know. It just felt mushy. It just felt like it was mushed together. I didn't really feel like it was like puzzle pieces anymore. It just felt like it was like wet pieces of slime and you have to like somehow make them form something, but it's fucking slime. It doesn't form anything. You already had Misa, who was kind of like a volatile character in my opinion, even from the first half of the show. Like she just was the character where it could all literally fall apart if she did XYZ, because I felt like she was very unhinged and Light had a hard time controlling her even though she was obsessed with him. I felt like at any moment she could snap and do something that would bring everything tumbling down, right? So you already had Misa, who's kind of like that rocky domino, right? In the whatever you're building with dominoes. I don't even know how to play dominoes. They introduced Takada, and I was like, well, why? We don't need two of them, in my opinion. You don't need two of them. And then there was, what's his name? Mikami? And I was like, okay, well now hold on a second. You're introducing a lot of extra people. I didn't feel like any of them were really developed at that point. They were just there and I knew that they were going to cause trouble, but I had no idea what their motivations and ambitions were except for Takada, because she was obsessed with Light. Why were you obsessed with Light? Why? There was nothing there. I just felt like some of the substance kind of like dissipated in that latter half of Death Note, and not even half. It was kind of just like after Elle died. From like episode 27-ish, 26, 27. I want to say 27 on. That's where I kind of was like, I'm not really that interested anymore, but I want to finish it to see how it ends. And when I tell you that Light's demise was so underwhelming for me, I don't know what it was. Like, dude got shot up, like shot all over the place. And then somehow manages to run his butt to a different warehouse type place. And I just was like, what? I know it's anime. I know it's not real, but I don't know. His ending just felt so underwhelming that I was kind of like, oh, he's going to come back. Like there's more. But there wasn't, because that was the last episode. And it was like the last scene of the last episode. And that was it. He was just dead. And I really liked Death Note. I don't want you to get me wrong. At this point, I'm just ranting about the show. I really liked Death Note. I thought it was a pretty cool show. I definitely loved that first arc, let's say, right? Where it's Elle versus Light. Oh my God, that was fire. That was so good. I wish they had just built upon that. But I get it. I don't get to make those decisions. I know that. It's above my pay grade. I didn't love the second arc, right? With Nier and Mello. I don't even fucking know what Mello was doing. I was so confused by that kid. I was like, what's the point of you? What is the point of you besides another volatile character? You're just throwing in all of these like potential booms into this plot that kind of needs a little bit more stabilization. Oh my God, I can't talk. Anyways, I really liked the first half. I didn't love the second part, but I do feel like the show still warrants people's time because it was a lot of fun. And I think it was so much fun in that first bunch of episodes that even though the ending kind of like fell flat for me, it was a little disappointing for me. I still feel like that carried the show and it still made it a pretty good show. I want to get my hands on the manga though. I really want to get my hands on the manga because I want to see how the manga handled it. I in my head I'm thinking animes have to be a little bit more reduced maybe, or like minimized, because you have to fit within a certain amount of time, a certain amount of episodes, right? So I'm curious if the manga, because maybe there was an opportunity to expand more, if there's a little bit more character development when it comes to like Nier and Mello and Takada and all the other people that were introduced basically in the second half. I'm just curious how the manga handled all of that, especially the ending, because I have seen a couple of people say how the ending in the manga is a little bit different. I didn't want to spoil it for myself though, because I'm gonna read the manga, so I didn't want to spoil it for myself. So I didn't let myself go too deep on that. But I'm just curious because like I said, those character dynamics were so good. There was so much depth to the relationships between the characters in the first portion of the show. And then for the second portion to kind of just like give up on that, like they were there. Obviously, like there was that little bit of like the geniuses fighting each other when it came to Nier and Light. But even Light at one point acknowledges that like Nier was doing something, and Light said, oh, L wouldn't have done that. L was much smarter. And I was like, yeah, he was. Like, why did we get rid of L? I don't know. It would have been so cool to see L get a Death Note and have a Shinigami and see how he handled it in the long run. Because he had the Death Note for a little bit, or like he touched it or whatever. But it would have been really cool to see how he handled it over a longer period of time, to see if he would maybe potentially turn into what Light turned into. Or would he use his Death Note to combat Light? It would have been so cool to see that play out. But it is what it is. It's fine. It's not really fine. I'm kind of heartbroken over the ending of Death Note. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I definitely had like higher expectations of it, and I was a little bit let down. But it's okay. It's fine. I think that tends to happen even in books. I've noticed, like anything really. When new characters are introduced in later portions, I feel like sometimes they're not given enough time to be fleshed out and and truly develop, so that you can understand their motivations, who they are, why they do something, why they don't do something. I feel like that's important to me, but I'm also a very character-driven person when it comes to shows, movies, books. Characters are what bring me in and hook me. Stories like Death Note, when they start throwing in all of these extra characters and they're all like really, I don't know, I felt like the newer characters could potentially make everything just fall apart at the seams, and that was, that's disorienting for me as the viewer. I'm like, oh God, this person could throw everything down the drain. I understand why things like that are done in media and like, entertainment and stuff. I get it, like, okay, well, we have to get rid of this person, and then we got to throw this in to like keep the story going. I'm like, but why didn't you just keep the story going with the people that were fucking rocking it? Like, I don't know, but that's just my opinion. Something really similar to the second half of Death Note is happening to me with the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. So book 1, fire, loved it. Book 2, it dragged a little bit, but I still absolutely loved it. Book 3, the biggest book out of the 3 of them, I haven't been able to get back into it because I started reading it, and within the first 100 pages, the author is introducing new POVs, and I'm like, no, if you wanted me to start following new people, you had to give them to me in book 2, where I had time to understand who they are and why they're doing what they're doing. But right now, you're literally just throwing strangers at me and saying, here's their POV, you have to understand, you have to follow, you have to remember. And I'm like, I don't function like that. I don't function like that. I have no connection to these new characters. I don't care about them. So I'm having a hard time getting back into it to finish the series because of that. And that is a little bit different because with anime, I think because I'm watching instead of reading, it's a little bit easier for me to work past that hump, that little obstacle to keep going. But it's exactly how I felt with Death Note. I was like, why are you introducing all these new characters? And they were people who were pivotal to the rest of the show, to the plot. And I'm like, but like, why didn't, I don't know. I know it doesn't make sense. I know you're probably like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It's really not. It's really not. And it's not like the show was ruined because they introduced new characters. I just felt like enough time wasn't given to those characters, So I just felt like really unattached. I think that's the right word to say it. I just was disassociated from the show after a certain point. I think I got to like episode 30 and I was like, yeah, I'm done. My brain was just, I was watching it, but I wasn't watching it, if you know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. But anyways, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I ranted at you about Death Note for so long. I'm done. I did like it. I did like the show. I think we'll have to see what the manga has. Once I start getting into the manga, I'll keep you guys updated because I'm hoping and praying that the manga saves the idea I have of Death Note. I think the manga will like maybe bring it back from the grave, hopefully. Please, manga gods. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. just my ranting on Death Note. Let me know if you watched Death Note. Let me know what you thought. Again, I'm really sorry that I just ranted at you guys. That happens to me sometimes when I'm like really passionate about something. I'm like, ah, and I have to like tone it down, but also in this instance, it's okay. It's the first time it happened. You guys will forgive me. We'll move on from it, hopefully. Hopefully you guys come back, hopefully. Thank you so much if you stayed for the entirety of this video, and I really, really hope you didn't stay if you haven't seen Death Note, because there were a lot of spoilers, and I'm so sorry if you did. But also, I said it a bunch of times at the beginning. So, thank you for watching the video, and as always, happy reading and or watching.